Hey guys, welcome back to Zethythonix channel. Today we are back with another H.L.M.S episode again. It's Old Gundam from Gundam 00. Today's episode will be focusing more on the Anno Domini background, so it might be long. Before moving on to the topic, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell next to it. Grab a lot of snacks and drinks, turn on your CC sub and let's roll. As the world kept moving forward, around 200 years before the whole 00 story started, there was a critical problem, the global fuel crisis. Aeolia came out with a proper solution in 2090, where he suggested his theoretical basis for the combined orbital elevator and photophotic energy system. However, he has limited by the technologies in his era, his theory was buried and received little to no attention. Let's say he was way too ahead of his own time. At the same year, Aeolia also created the concept and worked on the development of humanoid MS, which is the Gundams. At the following year, Aeolia has gone despaired about human and the world. He has observed a world full of hatred, greed, violence, misunderstanding, misused intelligence, and conflict. He was despair enough to shield himself away from the world, but something new came up and made him regain hope. Aeolia discovered a new particle that can transmit humans' thoughts, which leads to him believing humans can understand each other. At the same time, GM particles and the development of Gundams had given him a big picture. The Aeolia plan was created. For the rest of his life, Aeolia has dedicated himself into his ideal world, which is eliminating war itself. To achieve his goal, Aeolia has planned the Aeolia's plan. The Aeolia's plan is divided into 3 stages. The first step is to eliminate the conflicts between humans, as well as wiping war itself from the world. That's why Celestial Being, the private military organization, is always there to stop the wars between multiple factions. The second step of the plan is to let humans cooperate. To achieve that specific goal, Celestial Being will draw hate and become the public enemy to make humans cooperate. The final step is to let humans understand each other, evolve into innovators, and achieve true peace. All these steps are here to prevent humans bringing hatred and war into space. If that happens, humans can't be ready for the conversation with the other forms of life. Other than the plan itself, Aeolia also seeks the 3 necessity to get ready for the conversation. According to T.L.E. Ade, the 3 necessities are GN drive, Veda, Innovator. As for today's episode, I will only cover the GN drive part. I will save Veda and Innovator to the Reborn's episode. GN particle is the energy source of GN drive Tau, and any other variants of GN drive. GN particles can be used as tactical purposes or defensive purposes, just like the technologies in other Gundam universes. A widespread GN particle field will cause monitors, any form of detections, and communication will render as useless. For defensive purposes, from Pluton all the way to Seraphi, this line has a special feature called GN field. I will expand the topic a bit more in the Vaj episode, but I will put it as too long didn't read version. GN field is a 360 all-attack protection field. It can block most physical or beam attacks, but as you all know, with the right power and other circumstances, you can damage the suit inside the field. The theory is releasing the compressed high-density GN particles that are stored in GN condensers through GN field generator. With multiple generators, it will create a stable field outside of the suit. That's why Vaj is like a god before United Nations forces got their jinx and Ali Alusajis stole the Gundam Slowly Survive, because other than GN-based weapons, basically no attack can penetrate through GN field. Of course, Seraphi changed the base theory of this, and I won't expand it until the Vaj episode. Offensively, GN particles can be used to coat a weapon in a short time. The most commonly known weapon is the GN sword on Gundam X-Shear, which X-Shear can coat the blade with GN particles quickly to enhance the cutting power. Alright, pull ourselves back to the theory part. GN particles are a subspecies of photons, decayed variants that are responsive to an unspecified machine-producible interactive force, which is why CB can use these particles in different areas of their organization. GN particles has a very high energy density and able to manipulate mass in different environments. For example, Gundams can fly easily, manipulate the particles on the armor surface to exit or enter the atmosphere. It's heat-proofed, and the particles can make a heavy MS like Vaj hover and fly because of the mass manipulation. Let me explain a bit about the visible light coming from the GN drive. According to the Planck's formula, the higher the frequency, the higher the energy. GN particles have a high frequency, so you can't see the light. The lights that you can see are in the lower frequency section. They are not GN particle itself, but the associated visible light band. Currently, there are 5 5 colors for GN particles. The reason why the colors are not united because the energy source and compression rate are different. I still haven't found an article explaining the circumstances clearly. All we know at the moment is GN particles are toxic if they are not filtered correctly. After different filters and adjustment, the result will have variance. Green is the original from the original GN drive. It's non-toxic and it has benefits for the people who interact with it. The benefits are healing, human evolution, and sharing will. Red particles are very toxic. It was first provided by a CB trader, Laguna Have. His betrayal was never specified, so I can't go further. H.L.M.S was part of the development too, as he assisted the Corner family and stole the data for their GN drive Tau. Anyways, Laguna stole GN technologies from CB a long time ago. He was reached by Alejandro Corner and H.L.M.S. Corner made the 30 GN drive Tau based on the leaked information, but I will save that story to the Jinx episode. The red particles are already filtered, but the toxin in the particles is still too high. For example, Louise Halevi got attacked by Sulole Dolai. The doctor said that she can be cured by regeneration treatment. Due to the high toxin in the red particles has a high resistance, which it will cancel out the treatment. So she has to take medications to control the particle activities inside her body, since she can't be treated. So Louis got a prosthesis. Even though GN drive Tau is toxic, but the performance is already close to what CB was able to do. Golden particles are just like the red ones. This particle was specifically created for Alejandro Corner because he likes gold. Okay, for real though, so he goes up to the mechanic and say, "Yo, I want some gold in the particles. Can you just use particle coloring in my drive?" Orange particles are the improved red particles. The performance is once again closer to the original green particles. Despite it's not the original, but now orange particles has no toxin in it. But there's no evidence that proves that it won't affect the human body. Last variant of the GN particles is purple particles. This particle is created by H.L.M.S when they assimilated with Jinx 4. There's no explanation on how they managed to copy the exact same function as the original GN drive. But I gotta say, H.L.M.S took a couple days to learn the entire structure of GN drive. That's crazy. Alright, let's move on to GN drive structure and Tolamzam. We'll start from GN drive. Gundam Nucleus Drive is the power source of the Gundams, a semi-permanent energy device. GN drive was first created around 120 years before Season 1's timeline. It took the Jupiter research team 20 years to complete 5 GN drives. According to Gundam 00V Chapter 14, the factory of the GN drive were directly built into the core of Jupiter, extracting GN particles in 22G environment. Other than these strict conditions, it involved other ways to make the drives perfect, but it was never specified. The Jupiter crew has to follow a very serious secret protocol, but over the 20 years, nearly 1/3 of the members were lost. After the completion, the GN drives were secretly sent back to Earth by unmanned capsules. After the GN drives were sent away, one of the scientists on the ship killed all the members, erased the record and data, and self-destructed the ship. However, 2 men from an unknown search team found the ship wreckage, where they discovered a purple hollow in 2225. The purple hollow has the remaining data, and presumably led to Corner family wanted to develop GN drive Tau. The GN drive structure is complicated. It has 6 layers to make the drive work: GN generation furnace, TD blanket, thruster unit, flywheel, stability control, and sensor unit. To put it in a simpler way, the GN drive works like this. GN generation furnace harnesses energy to produce GN particles. Through the mass collapse due to evaporation of heavy particles, huge positrons and photons are created, and thus can generate huge amount of energy. Topological defect blanket is the main factor that GN drive can work. It uses potential difference of energy to generate energy. GN drive will create small black holes to generate a large amount of energy disparity. Then based on those 2 theories, it creates the energy in a loop. In other words, as long as the reactant in the drive is still working, the runtime will be semi-permanent. I can only explain this far because I never studied physics. If you know about these scientific theories, please explain to the audiences, as this is the maximum understanding from me, who don't know a thing about physics. Anyways, the thruster unit and flywheel will start to absorb the photons within the GN drive power plant. The flywheel will start spinning the funnels inwards and spewing GN particles through fans. Then the flywheel will start to spin faster to generate propulsion. The stability control will adjust the GN drive output and particle amounts automatically, which this control will stop the drive when overloaded or undercharged. Lastly, if somehow things went wrong, the sensor unit on the outside of the drive will have a detection and react or shut down the device. For example, 00 Gundam used H.L.M.S without proper adjustment. EM warned Setsuna don't use H.L.M.S, but Setsuna used it when he was fighting Mr. Bushido. The GN drive was overloaded and close to blow up. The sensor unit detected it and shut down H.L.M.S as well as the drive itself to prevent blowing up. GN drive Tau is an imitation of the original GN drive. The performance has slight difference compared to the original. However, GN drive Tau don't have a TD blanket, which means it cannot achieve semi-permanent runtime. Compared to the original drive, the Tau version needs to charge and depended on electrical power. We spoke about the theory of the TD blanket, but I can't find information as to how the GN drive Tau convert electricity to GN particles. GN drive Tau will produce red GN particles. For the one is that the particle cannot be filtered more, and for two is the compression rate was way higher than the original. We talked about the toxic problem, so let's skip to the next part. Even though in the anime it seems like the Jinx group gave an extremely tough time to the 4 Gundams, the reality is that during one-on-one situation, the GN drive Tau has a below average output compared to the original. In terms of power, if an original drive MS is fighting a GN drive Tau MS, the original will win. Another really annoying thing is that GN drive Tau can't just activate like the originals. It takes a special starter machine to charge and lit up the drive, which means it's not that convenient. Well, is the GN drive Tau completely bad? No, because it actually has the benefits of its own. Unlike the original, GN drive Tau don't need a TD blanket, which means it doesn't need to be made in a high gravity environment. You can just mass produce it on Earth fast and takes less time. Also, compared to the automatic adjustment on the original GN drive Tau has a flexible output adjustment rate. It's not fully specified, but I found an info that suggests GN drive Tau can ignore MS size and condenser levels, which means it can be tuned to have a higher output whenever it needs to. For example, Gundam Slole Dolai has GN stealth field. It can release 10 times or more than a standard GN drive capable of. This is because GN drive cannot change the output without ignoring the basic data of the Gundam. It takes more work on the original drive to achieve that. Alright, we spoke about GN drives are very valuable. It cannot be mass produced, so how can other CB's MS get into missions? The answer is GN condenser. GN condenser is divided into two categories, frame type and drive type. Frame type is where the condensers are mounted in the frame. The object devices on the Gundam's body is the condensers. The condensers are charging when the Gundam is not in mission or during sleep mode. The condensers are charged with extra GN particles. Those extra particles will be used during attacks that needed a large amount of GN particles, like Vaj, GN Bazooka, Burst Mode, and its GN field. Why the Gundams need frame time condensers? Because GN drive can't produce all the particles by itself. During attacks that required a lot of particles, the production cannot keep up with consumption. As I said before, if the drive has too much stress to the point that it might blow up, the sensor unit will shut the GN drive down. To prevent the GN drive malfunction at the middle of the battle, the condensers will support the GN drive to create a stable output. As for the GN condenser Tau, the particles are pre-charged before going into battle. Because GN drive Tau is relying on electricity, so charging the condensers during battle is not possible unless you decrease your own operation time. Other than that difference, the rest of the function is just the same like CB's GN condensers. Drive type is when the MS don't have GN drive or the Tau version. The energy source will be replaced by a large and high capacity variant. Drive type is basically an expendable device because it can only release particles and cannot make its own particles. Based on this difference, it makes no difference compared to GN drive Tau. For the original GN condenser drive type, it can be charged by other Gundam's GN drive, like Gun Archer or All Riser, where they dock with Aerials or 00 Gundam to charge the particles during battles. During the final battle as Celestial Being, most CB's MS or battleships can activate H.L.M.S and has a similar operation type like GN drive. For the Tau version, it's charged by electricity, but as the technology kept evolving, it has priorities. The operating system will always use the particles in the condensers first, including disposable GN fuel tanks. Then, after those two sections of particles are finished, it will start drawing particles from the GN drive Tau. That way, it can expand the operation type greatly. It was first used by Earth Sphere Federation and Alos. Later, it was was commonly used by basically anyone who has GN drive Tau. Aeolia predicted that his plan might fail while he's in cold sleep, but he wanted to keep the will alive and put a black box in the GN drives. This black box is connected directly with Veda. As soon as Veda detected Aeolia is killed, it will unlock secret information to the GN drive owners. It will play a message to the celestial being, unlocking Tolamzam system, twin drive system, and along with other secret technologies that were hidden. The black box was a separate system, which means even Libons don't have access to it. Thus, he won't even know it's a thing. Other than that, once Veda detected an overwrite, it will erase the Meisters, technologies, celestial being, Farish, details of GN drive and Gundam's complete blueprints. While it looked like it's erased, but the information is just hidden separately, which Libons won't know at all even though he took over the system. Alright, let's pull ourselves back to the Tolamzam system. Tolamzam will be activated instantly as soon as Aeolia is killed. Tolamzam is a limited time special system. The activation time is 180 seconds per Tolamzam, although the time will be affected depending on the particle storage. During Tolamzam, the GN drive will operate with full speed. All condensers will be opened, all transmitter cables will be at the highest performance, and all the accumulated high-density GN particles will be fully unleashed. The Gundam speed, defense, and attacks will be at maximum performance. The high-density GN particles will coat the Gundam servers, making it look like it turned red. Other than glowing red, the speed is 3 times faster and it will leave after images as the Gundam is moving in high speed. The output during Tolamzam is of course 3 times stronger. One Tolamzam drive can overpower 3 regular GN drives. Tolamzam is a trump card and turning point during a fight, but with such outstanding benefits, it comes with heavy after effects. After Tolamzam, the output and all performances will be dramatically dropped. You cannot use Tolamzam again unless it's fully functionable again, but the charging time is unknown. Another questionable feature in the anime is that we never know can you turn Tolamzam on and off freely. During season 1, we often saw the full length of Tolamzam. However, in the second season, you can see the Tolamzam wears off whenever it needs to. There's no information about that, so I can't answer that question. Thank you for the long waiting. You have everything that you need to know. Let's go to the part that you all are waiting for. Old Gundam. Old Gundam is the first ever Gundam developed by CB. It was developed during the Solar Power Wars and completed around AD 2290. Old Gundam was the base of all the second generation Gundams. The data from it helped to improve the next generation models. Old Gundam was the first MS deck equipped with a GN drive as well as weaponizing GN particles, unleashing the highly compressed particles, taking leverage from the high heat and high kinetic energy from the compressed particles to create beam weapons. According to the concept, Old Gundam was developed as test prototype only, which means CB wants to know about GN drive, GN particles, and different ways that you can potentially use in the battlefield. Old Gundam was full of revolutionary technologies on it. It has the first ever beam weapons. It also required the development of ancillary technologies and materials like E-carbon that is capable of withstanding high outputs. The first generation GN drive is also bigger than the ones on the third generation. That's because the miniaturized takes were not there yet back in the days. The large GN drive was also a key to use GN feathers. GN feathers is when Old Gundam released a large amount of GN particles. Then when the particles were controlled by the 2 clavicle antennas on the chest, it will form a huge angelic-like wings. During the widespread particle flow, it will jam communications and radars. The GN feathers also improved Old Gundam's mid-air stability as well as giving a deep impression to people who saw it and became a warning. According to the simulation, GN feathers is a one-sided GN field that can block strong attacks. In the Double I story, I Gundam blocked a large energy beam from an incomplete Memento Mori using GN feathers, but its GN drive Tau almost exploded due to large consumption in a short time. Anyways, back to the base, the GN feathers were ultimately removed from the next generation designs due to a lot of reasons. First, the consumption of GN particles were too fast to the point that the GN drive can't keep up. Secondly, because the experimental mission will always make sure no witnesses were alive. So what's the point to make it as a warning? Plus, angelic wings can't really make people fear it. Lastly, using a large amount of GN particles in a short time will cause future developments to be handicapped, as the developers had to change the weapons just to make the GN feathers work. In the long term, it's not productive, neither effective. Since Old Gundam is a test prototype, so its weapons are very basic. The main ranged weapon is a beam gun. Instead of using GN condenser, the first generation beam gun is directly drawing energy from the drive to shoot compressed GN particles. Despite the small size, but the output is comparable to the modern beam weapons, as well as rapid fire. There's one one beam saber on the right side of the backpack. The beam output can be adjusted manually. The Gundam shield is made out of E-carbon. It can generate a small GN field on the surface to increase the defense. Since it's an original GN drive, so it has the ability to use Tolamsum too, but all Gundam never used Tolamsum in manga or anime. After the completion of All Gundam in AD 2295, it was first activated to help Gundam Sudaosud to recover the rest of the second generation Gundams, as well as stopping a terrorist attack on Human Reform Lead's incomplete orbital elevator. This was the incident where Gundam Pluton's GN drive was in critical, and Venator Gray's parents, Rudo Resonance and Marlene Fadi, sacrificed themselves to save Pluton's pilot, Shaw Acrostica. All Gundam was there to retrieve Gundam Astrea and Gundam Apollo. The pilot on All Gundam during that mission was unknown. In AD 2301, All Gundam was sent to Republic or Crugis. This mission was an armed intervention test, as well as weapons and abilities testing of the All Gundam. The pilot during that time was Libonzi Alamaku. He was ordered to kill all witnesses and combatants before leaving the battlefield. However, Libonz saw a young boy, Solan Ibrahim, who eventually grew up with the name Setsuna F. Seye. When Solan looked at the All Gundam, he cannot shift his vision and believe All Gundam like a god. Libonz perceived the boy's look as an utter admiration and worship. That's the first time Libonz grew the thinking of being a god. After the mission was finished, Libonz accessed Veda and recommended Solan as the Gundam X-Share's Meister. Also, sometimes after Libonz and Connor were working together, they stole the All Gundam data secretly and the free Gundam Sonole was born. In AD 2302, All Gundam was piloted by an unknown person again. This mission was assisting a flight test of GNXXX Gundam Ratio. Sometimes at the beginning of the anime timeline, All Gundam was transferred to Farish, a shadow group that supports the Ptolemy group. Farish removed the GN drive from All Gundam. The GN drive will be placed in one of the 4 second-generation Gundams depending on which Gundam is going out for a mission. As for Farish itself and what did they do in the side stories, I'll explain it in each Gundam's episode. Alright, let's fast forward the event. UN forces has prepared the final battle, Operation Fallen Angels. The final battle result was Celestial being completely lost. X-Share and Curios were gone or captured. Aeolia Haptison was captured by Human Reform Leaf and Setsuna went missing. After the operation, Farish was merged with Ptolemy Group. The All Gundam GN drive was put into Double All Gundam. When Alos attacked the space colony, Proud, X-Share was back again as X-Share Repair. The reborn Celestial being was back and saved Setsuna. Later, X-Share and All Gundam's GN drive has the highest compatibility, so All Gundam was put into storage and its drive became part of Double All Gundam. When Celestial being decided to take Veda back, they gathered any available MS to expand their forces. All Gundam was delivered to Ptolemy 2. It's ready for combat and is now called All Gundam Type ACD. The ACD in the name stands for Actual Combat Deployment. Since All Gundam don't have a GN drive anymore, the power source was replaced by a large GN condenser. All the settings remain untouched. It's just a standard support suit. It was deployed during the final battle where Innovator's Gargas were doing kamikaze attack. Lasse Ion piloted the All Gundam and defending Ptolemy 2. After a while, All Gundam ran out of particles and Lasse's old wounds forced him to abandon the All Gundam. He headed back to Ptolemy 2 and All Gundam was drifting around. Both Setsuna and Libonz used their Tolamsum system on Double R and Reborn Gundam, resulting a draw and Libonz cut off All Gundam's GN drive. When he was heading back with the original GN drive, he had to abandon Reborn because it's about to explode. He found the All Gundam and put the GN drive in it. Setsuna came back with the X-Share Repair too. Both Libonz and Setsuna was ready to end it once for all. After a lot of back and forward punches and slashes, both All Gundam and X-Share Repair 2 turned on their own overboost mode, which means both GN drives were at maximum output. The battle ended with X-Share Repair's 2 GN sword stabbed right through the cockpit plus GN drive. All Gundam nearly stabbed the cockpit but destroyed the GN drive. Both Gundams blew up. That's the end of All Gundam. When Farish first received the All Gundam, because they only have one GN drive to use, so they wanted to enhance All Gundam and make the most out of it. Full Armor All Gundam was designed by Ian Fusty's disciple, Sheridan Hyde. The concept of this variant is to sacrifice particle consumption controls for higher performance and capabilities. The armor on the surface can withstand blast, projectiles, or physical rounds. The armor was also used on Gundam Pluton. The full name is GN Composite Armor. This set of armor has a special internal system where it will generate an isolated GN field that only covers the armor. As I said during the technology part, GN particles can manipulate mass. By generating a layer of GN field on the armor surface, it can lift some of the weight off and keep the mobility. Other than protecting and manipulate mass, there's a window when full armor Gundam purges the armor off. The accumulated GN particles from the internal and external isolated GN field will burst out all at once. The burst out particles will generate a GN field-like barrier for a very short time to protect all Gundam. Offensively, 3 new weapons were added onto the full armor all Gundam. The beam saber is just the same one on all Gundam, so we will skip it. The beam gun was upgraded into twin beam gun. It can mount on left or right forearm's hardpoint. The functions and theories are the same as the previous version, except there's an extra beam gun. There's a new mask on the face. It has a pair of Gundam Falcons on it. Lastly, the strongest weapon on the FA all Gundam is beam bazooka on the left side of the backpack. It has a similar concept like the one on Vaj, but based on the size, it doesn't look that high output. There's no information about whether it's weaker than the one on Vaj or it's exactly the same. FA all Gundam only exists in the simulation after Operation Fallen Angels. Farish was merged with Ptolemy Group. That means all Gundam and its GN drive was given back for Double O Gundam's testing. But right before the Innovator's final battle, Sherilyn took the data out again and ran 2 simulations. The first battle was against 4 MSER-04-ENV. Although the test results were excellent, but the particle consumptions were way too high and too fast. There's no way FA all Gundam can use such high particle consumption equipment with GN condenser. The second battle entered 2 different pilots' data. FA all Gundam used Von Spark's data, and Double Gundam was using Eco Carlos data. Sherilyn shut down the simulation because the data was very unfair. Let me explain a bit. Von Spark is one of the top tier pilots in the Double O world. He is crazy, but he has the skills and the IQ. Even Ali Sages had to avoid him because he thinks Von is not someone that can easily mess with. Von is pure crazy. Meanwhile, Eco is considered as the worst pilot in the Farish. Most people call him a secondary Meister, but if you read a bit of manga, he always screws up and don't have memorable achievements. That's why Sherilyn shut down the simulation because that was way too unfair. In the end, all Gundam didn't equip extra armament and just painted to ACD colors. Thanks for watching this episode. I hope that whole GN technology part didn't fry your brain. I'm sorry, I don't study physics, so I might have wrong info about the particles theories. Once again, if you know these physics knowledge, you can explain to the audiences because I'm sure you can do a way better job than me. I don't think I would do another double episode soon because the physics is strong in this one. I need a break. I really need a break from the science lectures. If you like this video or you think I did a good job keeping it together, please subscribe and hit the bell next to it. This channel won't disappoint you when it comes to Gundams. Thank you RefX for editing the first part of the episode's audios. Feel free to check out his channel too. Also, thank you Natural Roll for trimming the photos for me. My Discord, PayPal donation links are in the description. Considering joining my Discord server. Also, I need more extra hands. Please send me a message if you want to be part of it too. Alright, I'm gonna end right here. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.